So I'm here today to talk about another key, really important component of faith walking. It's the idea of what we call emotional maturity. In its simplest terms, emotional maturity is being able to see things differently than other people. And in the midst of those differences, sometimes really, really extreme differences, yet we can still stay connected relationally and emotionally with other people. I tend to think of that as that's actually being a follower of Jesus. That's actually following the ways of Jesus, is to be with people, be in relationship with people, and in the midst of differences, stay connected to them emotionally and personally. It's a really important teaching to me because I learned just the opposite in the stream of faith that I grew up in and how I understood God in the Bible. I grew up in a way and in a faith tradition that said I knew everything there was to know about God. I knew everything the Bible taught. In the midst of knowing everything the Bible taught, I knew all truth. And in knowing all truth, I knew everything there was to know about God. I knew everything there was to know about living. And what that produced in me was a person that the Bible tends to call a Pharisee. A Pharisee is someone that thinks they're better than others. A Pharisee is a person that lives their life judging other people. And that's how I lived the majority of my life. A life of making others wrong, thinking I knew what was right and wrong, intellectually all day long judging other people. In the midst of judging others, I would also isolate myself. I actually taught and believed that I was to stay away from people that didn't see things the way I did. If how I saw things and what I knew was truth, then we were to stay away from those that didn't know the truth, those that didn't see things the way I saw things. Emotional maturity, following the ways of Jesus, is actually people that embrace others that see things profoundly different than us. We can be connected with all kinds of people that see God, see the world, understand the Bible differently than us. And in the midst of all that, we can love others, be connected to them, and stay connected in the midst of all those differences. And that is completely opposite of the faith stream that I lived into for about the first 50 years of my life. One of the ways I've come to understand emotional maturity in the most challenging ways is emotionally mature person, seeing things different than others, staying connected to others, is fully expressed in our ability to show unconditional love for our enemies. Enemies are people that not only see things different than us, oftentimes may actually inflict pain and suffering and wound us. And even with those people, we're to be love them unconditionally and be the fully alive people God designed us to be. As a Pharisee, I lived in a world that when you only associate with people that think like you, act like you, see the world like you do, you have very little and few opportunities to love your enemies unconditionally. You have very little opportunity to become emotionally mature by staying connected to people that see things really differently than you. What I'm also learning about emotional maturity is the need to be a calm presence in the midst of anxiety. A calm presence means that when there's conflict, when differences arise, when people see things really differently, when people see the world really differently, I'm able to be calm. Being calm is being able to live in a way where I access my thinking. I have these things we call guiding principles. Guiding principles are ways that I want to be, ways that I feel like God has called me to be in the world. And even in the midst of being highly anxious, in the midst of extreme conflict, I can be someone that's calm. I'm someone that operates out of my thinking. I'm not someone that is reactive, that operates out of his emotions, that makes decisions or says things out of his emotions, but I'm a person that says things through his thinking and let my guiding principles guide me as opposed to my emotions. Another thing about emotional maturity is I'm not just an individual on an island. I lived much of my life as a Lone Ranger Christian. And not only are we not called to be a Lone Ranger Christian, but we're actually to be in community with people. We all have a family of origin. I have a nuclear family. I have the faith-walking community. There's friendships I have. And all of those places I just described are all emotional systems. And I have a responsibility in all of those emotional systems. So I see myself as a contributor and part of those emotional systems, not as just an individual that's independent of those other relationships and those other systems. Lastly, and I save this for last because this is actually the most unpopular, the hardest teaching about emotional maturity. Emotional maturity is a person that can face pain and suffering. You can't follow the ways of Jesus without being someone that can embrace and pursue pain and suffering. Pain and suffering inflicted by others, and pain and suffering from our past, from woundings, from hurts that we have. And so to be an emotionally mature person is a person that is courageous. He's courageous and doesn't run away from pain and suffering, but actually can endure it and embrace it. Our culture teaches that the fully alive life, the fully human life, is a life born out of ease and convenience and comfort. And the life that Jesus calls us into is a life where we can endure and embrace pain and suffering. And to be able to do that and to be able to be a courageous enough person to embrace that is somebody that's emotionally mature.